You already know who it is, man. It's your boy Underrated Major. Today I'll be doing a video discussing the 7 strongest Dragon Slayers in this fairy tale series. Now, when it comes to fairy tale, the Dragon Slayers are easily one of the most, if not the most favorite group of people in this series. And it's really easy to see why the favorites. Number one, our main character is a Dragon Slayer. We know Natu, he's a Dragon Slayer. That's cool. But just the lore behind Dragon Slayer itself, like just being a Dragon Slayer itself is dope. Like just the title alone, like forget everything that goes into it, just being called a Dragon Slayer is dope. But let's be honest, but the fact that they have so much history, they have so much mystery, so much excitement behind them is also another reason why people love the Dragon Slayers. I mean, everybody, they're always wishing for more Dragon Slayers, but today I'll be doing a video discussing the 7 strongest Dragon Slayers in the series. Now, spoiler alert, this video will contain a little bit of spoilers. It's gonna have some manga only characters, so you guys have been warned. I'm not gonna go too deep into spoilers. I'm just gonna give like a general character breakdown for the manga only characters so you guys don't get like too spoiled. But without further ado, let's go and get into the video. Now, coming in at number 7 is Sting. And I know some of you guys might be thinking, whoa, Sting by himself, not Sting and Rogue? Well, listen, like I said, this video might have some spoilers, but all I'm gonna say is that in the manga, let's just say that Sting had a fight with a certain character. I'm just gonna say that this character's name starts with an L, and yeah, let's just say that with that fight, Sting really did separate himself from Rogue. You know what I'm saying? After Sting's important fight, his major fight in the manga, I had to separate him from Rogue, because usually I would put these two together because I see these two as basically the same, you know, around the same power level. They're called twin Dragon Slayers, you know what I'm saying? I saw them as equals. However, after a certain fight, I gotta put Sting ahead. And Sting, he's a very controversial character when it comes to fairy tale. I mean, a lot of people do not like Sting simply for the whole Grand Magic Games incident. We saw Sting, he was basically somewhat at full percent. I don't want to say he was at full power, but let's just say he was at, you know, he was well rested, you know what I'm saying? He had his power back, and we know the scene where the fairy tale members, I believe it was Urza, Gray, Laxus, Juvia, Gajil, I believe those were the 5. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, but basically we had the injured members of Fairy Tail basically standing up, and then Sting was basically talking all that hot stuff. He was like, yeah, I'm about to go take down Fairy Tail. But then when he finally saw them, he ended up bowing down and crying, saying he gives up. And a lot of people hated Sting for that. No, not just Sting. A lot of people hated Fairy Tail for that reason alone. But me personally, I don't really have a problem with this. I know some guys would be thinking, oh, it's because you're a fairy tale tard. No. If there's something bad in fairy tale, I would call it out. But the reason why I don't have a problem with this is simply because Sting, we saw that the main reason why he turned quote-unquote evil, why he wanted to go and fight fairy tale, was because of Lecter. We saw that he lost his X-Seed, and Minerva was basically manipulating him, saying stuff like, oh, if you end up taking out fairy tale, I'll bring Lecter back and all this other stuff. And then once he finally got Lecter back, he didn't really have a reason to fight up against Fairy Tail. So me personally, I'm not really too mad at that, but I can't understand why people are mad. You know what I'm saying? They want to see Sting fight against the Fairy Tail members, especially since they're injured. However, me personally, I still don't think that Sting would have won, because Laxus, Urza, like just those two alone, Laxus and Urza will be able to stomp them. But then you got Gray, Gajil, and Juvia on top. Like, come on, even if they were like injured, like it's not like that the Fairy Tail members like beaten down to a port and they couldn't like move. Like, they were hurt, but they weren't. I don't want to say they were at like people, they over exaggerate that. I still think that Sting would have lost. So yeah, Sting coming at number 7. He is my 7th strongest Dragon Slayer. Now, coming in at number 6 is Laxus. Now, let me put a disclaimer. I think there's a huge gap between Laxus and Sting, because some people, they might see the numbers, they'd be like, oh, Laxus at number 6, and then be like, whoa, why is he so close to Sting? But hear me out. I don't think they're on the same level, but I do think Laxus is the 6th strongest Dragon Slayer, simply because, number one, he's a 2nd generation Dragon Slayer, so I don't think that he will be able to have as much potential as the 1st generation Dragon Slayers, simply due to the fact that he can't even use Dragon Force. And Dragon Force is like Super Saiyan for Dragon Slayers. Like, yes, this is like their little power up, their little transformation, and the fact that he can't even use that shows that he's already at a disadvantage. But even with that, Laxus, he is still still hella strong. Yes, he's still very strong, and for the most part, up until the final arc in Fairy Tail, he was considered the strongest. Like, for me personally, up until the final arc in Fairy Tail, he was the strongest Dragon Slayer in the Fairy Tail guild. Yes, I would put Laxus over Natsu up, and Gajeel and Wendy up until the final arc in Fairy Tail. So me personally, I do think that Laxus, he is definitely the strongest second generation Dragon Slayer. Actually, I can't even say that, but he is definitely the strongest second generation Dragon Slayer in Fairy Tail, because he's the only one. But on top of that, Laxus, he has shown many feats in the series, and one of the most notable feats, I don't want to get too deep into it because it's a manga spoiler, but number one, let's just say that there's a certain character that the main cast of Fairy Tail was having troubles with, and then Laxus just came in there and boom, he didn't one-shot him, but he was able to like nullify his magic. But for anime onlys, the biggest, I guess you could say one of the biggest feats for Laxus is him versus Jura, because Jura, he was a wizard saint. Now, don't get me wrong, we know that the whole thing behind wizard saints, just because you're in a wizard saint doesn't mean that you're necessarily strong. We know that Warred, he said that himself. He told the main cast of Fairy Tail, yo, you guys are stronger than me, even though I'm a wizard saint. Just because I'm a wizard saint, that doesn't mean I'm strong. So that is an indicator that just because you're a wizard saint, that doesn't mean you're the strongest. But Jura, he was more focused, he honed his fighting skills. So the fact that Laxus was able to stand up and go on par with him just shows that, yeah, he definitely is somebody to play with. So that's why I got Laxus at number 6. Now, coming in at number 5, I gotta have Gajeel. Now, Gajeel is very, very, very slept on in my opinion. I mean, Laxus, he definitely was stronger than Gajeel, but I'm gonna give a little spoiler alert. Now that Gajeel has unlocked his Dragon Force, yes, Gajeel does have a Dragon Force, and I'm gonna talk about his metal mode. Some people, they get that mix up with Dragon Force when Gajeel gets like metal all over his body. That's not his Dragon Force, but in the manga, he actually did unlock his Dragon Force, and I want to say that really is what put Gajeel over Laxus, simply because Dragon Force is a huge boost in power, and we saw what Gajeel can do once he finally unlocked it. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into spoilers, but all I'm going to say is that now that Gajeel has his new form, his new you know what I'm saying, his new Dragon Force, or not even new, but just a Dragon Force, shows that he is definitely one of the top tier Dragon Slayers in Fairy Tail. Coming in at number 4 is God Serena. Now, this character as a whole is a mystery to anime only, simply because he has not been revealed yet, but I'm gonna give a quick little background for him. I'm not gonna say too much. God Serena, we found out that he is the first wizard saint. Yes, he is the #1 wizard saint in all of Fiora. Yes, that is true. Like, he's above Warren, Jura, all those guys, and that alone is just hype. Like, him being that strong, him being the first wizard saint, just shows that he's hype. But the fact that he's also a second generation Dragon Slayer is also hype too. And the last little spoiler I'm going to give for him is that he actually has more than one element. Yes, he has more than one element. And so God Serena, him as a character, he definitely did not disappoint. I enjoyed the time that we got to see him. So yeah, that's really all I'm going to say for him, because I don't want to spoil too much when it comes to anime onlys. But yeah, just know that God Serena, he is the first wizard saint, and he has multiple different elements that he can use. So he is a very spooky character. Coming in at number 3 is Natsu. Now, I know some guys might be thinking, whoa, Natsu? How do you have Natsu at number 3? Did he not become the strongest? Me personally, this list is really based off of proper power scaling. Like, this is my idea of power scaling without the BS, stuff thrown into it. Because let's be honest, Fairy Tail, they do have a lot of BS moments, whereas a character will get one-shotted where they shouldn't have gotten one-shotted. Acting Logia. So I'm trying to keep those out of there and keep it as objective as possible. And without that being said, and I think that Natsu, at the end of the series, I still do think that he isn't the strongest Dragon Slayer in the series. Yes, I know this might be shocking, but this isn't a knock on Natsu at all, because the other 2 people who I have ahead of him are definitely on a whole nother level. So Natsu, me personally, actually, I think that out of the Dragon Slayers who can't turn into dragons, I think that he is the strongest. But as a whole, I definitely gotta say that Natsu, I can't put him at number 1, but he's at number 3, so that's also not a bad spot. So I got Natsu coming again at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Irene. Now this is also, yes, another manga exclusive character, and this character has a lot of spoilers. All I'm gonna really say is that, actually, I don't even want to give away anything about her spoilers. Just take my word for it. That's all I'm gonna say. Just take my word for it. She is a monster. But the one thing that I do like about Irene that separates her from the DragonSlayers is the fact that she's able to use other than DragonSlayer magic. She's able to use more OP magic other than DragonSlayer magic. Like, we've seen DragonSlayers in the series, they really only use like their elemental stuff, like Naruto use fire moves and all this stuff, but Irene, she's able to use different type, like she's able to use like a variety of spells with on top of being a DragonSlayer. So that's why I gotta have Irene at number 2. She's definitely not somebody to play with. And coming in at number 1, you all guessed it, Acnologia. I mean, come on, man. Acnologia, the king of dragons, you know, it's a no-brainer to have him at number 1. I mean, everything that he's been through has just been so crazy, you know, all the stuff that he's did. Now, minus him getting one-shotted by Naruto, because I'm trying to keep the power scaling, you know, at a somewhat reasonable and a somewhat, you know, understandable rate. I'm not gonna really throw that in there because, you know, that was obviously some BS, but Acnologia, even before he got one-shotted by Naruto, he took out all 7 dragons. So yeah, definitely gotta say that showed right there that Acnologia is stronger than all DragonSlayers. I definitely do think that he is the end-all be-all for when it comes to strength for DragonSlayers. But yeah, overall, that's basically it for this little list when it comes to my 7 strongest DragonSlayers. If you guys disagree, let me know in the comment section down below. Comment what you guys see down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.